Welcome to uARFIDwhatueat, a channel where we deal with some of the issues that somebody with avoidant restrictive food intake disorder deals with on a daily basis. My name is Chris. Today we are in continuation of a three-part series we've done the last couple of episodes where we were talking about tier lists in regards to taste, texture, and smell. And we've already covered taste and texture. Today we are going to be covering the smell tier list. If you watched the other two videos, or honestly if you've watched any of my trying it out videos or anything, you're probably well familiar by now that I don't tend to like most tastes and I don't tend to like most textures. So this episode might seem kind of interesting because, while I still do have my occasional issues of smell, smell tends to be a little more straightforward for me. There are a lot of foods that I like the smell of that I just can't stand the taste of, or the texture. You'd think it'd be simpler than that. You'd think that if something tastes good or tastes bad, that it's probably going to smell or taste the same way. But for me, that's often not the case. So often I'll smell something and I'm like, oh, that smells really good. I can't wait to try it out. Then I'll finally try it and it tastes disgusting, or the texture is just unbearable for me. So hopefully this video will have a lot less things in the F and the D tier, and hopefully some more things in the A and the B tier. Speaking of which, here's how I'm going to be doing the tiers for this. For A, I'm going to be having smells that I think really positive about. For B, I'm going to have smells that I'm usually into, but I don't always click with. For C, I'm going to have smells I'm fairly neutral with. For the D tier, I'm gonna have like smells that I don't really go for usually, but they're not the end of the world. And for F tier, I'm gonna have smells that just make me sick and I want nothing to do with. For the other two videos, I had 25 adjectives that I used to kind of work with, but I found it difficult to find a lot of descriptive words for smells that weren't just the same words, basically. So for smells, I'm just gonna use 20 adjectives. Got my handy list right here, so let's dive right in. For smell number one, we have minty. Minty is a smell I actually usually like. Minty has a nice uplifting smell. It's light and slightly sweetish. I like it. Minty is a smell I can go for. It can be overpowering if it's too much, but just the right amount of mint can be solid. So let's put mint into the B tier for smell. For number two, we have cheesy. Cheesy is a smell that can go either way. When it's good, it's good. When it's too much, it's just way too much. It can get kind of just overpowering and sharp and kind of gross. So because it really depends on the context, but it can go either way, I'm gonna put cheesy into the C tier. Number three, we have vinegary. When I think of a vinegary smell, I think of like sweaty, salty, like just unappealing, right? And a very strong smell at that. So we're gonna put vinegary into the D tier. Number four, we have floral. I'm talking like a flowery kind of smell. So that's something I can like when it comes to foods. If it's not a like flowery kind of smell I'm into, it can be not so good. But usually it is. So let's put floral into the B tier for food smells. Number five, we have rotten. Rotten is generally speaking a terrible smell. I don't like it. I had to include it because I think certain foods technically are like rotting. So I mean, technically it is a smell that for the right person they might be into. But I'm not. The kind of foods I eat, I don't want them rotting in the slightest. That makes me sick. So rotten, you're going into the F tier. Six, we have buttery. Now buttery is a pretty nice smell. It's a smell I do enjoy generally speaking. I eat a lot of foods that have a lot of butteriness to them. Makes me think of like fresh popcorn at the movies, that kind of thing. Or like a slice of toast. So you know what? Buttery, I'm gonna put you in the A tier. Number seven, we have planty. And planty, kind of just like I use it as like this weird descriptor for taste. I'm gonna use it in a smell kind of way where like it's kind of like a grassy, kind of like a just rip the veggie right out of the earth kind of smell. Not a smell I tend to go for, but not like an offensive smell either. So, you know, we'll put it into like D tier, I think. For eight, we have burnt. Now burnt is interesting because usually a burnt smell is pretty gross, but if it's just like ever so slightly burnt, like just enough that it's the toast that is browned just enough before it starts going black, that can be like a good smell actually. I don't mind that. So I'm gonna put it into D tier, I think. For number nine, we have nutty. Nutty is a gross smell. I don't like it. Don't like the taste of nuts. Don't like the smell. Kind of just has this musty blandness to it. It's not that good, so I'm gonna put you into D tier, nutty. Number 10, we have sweet. Now sweet, I want to put it into the A tier because when something smells sweet, it smells pretty good. But when something smells too sweet, it gets sickly. It just becomes kind of gross and like overpowering, and just, you don't like that. I'm gonna put it into B, let's say. 11, we have fishy. Fishy is gonna go into the hard F tier for me. I can tell you that already. When I'm like at the grocery store and I walk by the fish section, the seafood, and I get hit by that smell of fish, disgusting for me. It makes me sick. It actually makes me like sick and like want to gag. So that's going right into the F tier. For 12, we have woody. So like the smell of like, you know, like a barky kind of tree smell of sorts. That's a smell I don't really tend to like in food. Let's put that in the D tier because it's not offensive, but it doesn't make me hungry, that's for sure. 13, I have peppery. Now pepper is a smell I actually really do go for. I love that nice fresh smell of like spicy, hot pepper kind of smell. That's a smell I really like. Flavor-wise, perhaps maybe it's too much for me at times, but smell-wise, I actually really do like it. So peppery, you're going into the A tier. 14 is citrusy. So we're talking like, you know, that zesty smell of like orange, lime, lemon. Flavor-wise, that could be a little much for me sometimes, but smell-wise, I tend to like that. It can still be a little too much, but not nearly as much as the taste tends to be. Like the smell isn't that bad. So it's a very refreshing, like tropical-y kind of smell. I like that. So I'm gonna put that into the B tier. 15, we have yeasty. So like a nice bready smell. And that's a smell I go for in a big way. I really like the smell of bread, especially fresh bread. Oh man, fresh bread smells so good. I guess a bread that you just like got at the store or something that's been sitting in a bag for a while doesn't really have as much of a smell to it, but that fresh bread smell is just so insanely good. I love it so much. And just for that alone, I have to put it into the A tier. I have to. So good. 16, we have earthy. Thinking kind of like a dirt kind of smell, like a mushroomy kind of smell. Thankfully, it's not very overpowering, but it's not tasty, that's for sure. So I'm gonna put it into like D tier, but like a high D. A low C almost. 17, I have smoky. Smoky is a smell I really do like. Like when you smell a nice smoked meal, oh man, that flavor hits you so good. Even if I can't enjoy that flavor, the smell usually tends to be great. So smoky, you're going into A tier. Now for 18, I have pungent. So pungent in this case can mean like a strong offensive smell, but it can also mean like kind of the smell of like garlic or onions. Those are both smells I love. I love the smell of garlic and I love the smell of onions. Obviously not too much of either. It can be overwhelming. I don't like the taste of onions at all, and garlic is very easy to overdo, but the smell is terrific. It smells great. So because of that, I feel like I'm gonna put it right into the meaty middle there. I'm gonna put it right into C tier. Because when it's great, it is great. But when it isn't good, it is disgusting. For 19, I have musty. Now, a musty smell makes me think of like old, kind of like that closet that hasn't been opened in a long time, like newspapery kind of smell. Or like I'd say nuts kind of have a musty smell to them. It's not appealing whatsoever. You know what? We'll put it in like D tier, but like low D tier, high F tier. And last but not least, we have number 20, fruity. I tend to like a fruity smell. It's usually pretty good, but it depends on the fruit. Some fruits I really don't like the smell of. So when a fruity smell gets too planty, I don't really like that as much, but when it's just properly fruity and it has that nice floral hints of sorts, that smell is pretty good. So I'm gonna put that into B tier. That feels right. And with that, yeah, here we go. We have 20 adjectives for smell, all tiered up. Again, you'll notice this tier list is a little more balanced than the previous tier list for taste and texture, because my smells tend to be a little more balanced. The issues I have with ARFID in relation to taste and texture don't tend to affect me as much with smell. It's a very interesting thing. And again, I don't entirely understand it, but it's something I've totally noticed throughout my life as somebody with ARFID who struggles when I'm in a restaurant to just even be able to get a meal. I still sit there and I smell everyone else's food and I'm like, oh, that smells so good. So with that, there you have it. Now you have a good sense of my smells, you have a good sense of my tastes, a good sense of my textures, a good overview of how I approach eating. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm happy to discuss this in more detail with anybody, however they'd like me to. Or if you have any thoughts on my list, feel free to let me know in the comments. And just like taste and textures, this was not a comprehensive 100% covers every food and taste that exists, but hopefully it's a starting point, you know, and maybe we'll revisit this down the line and see if anything has changed once I've tried more foods and kind of interacted with food more, done more exposures. But yeah, that's my smell tier list. I'd like to thank you so much again for joining me. This is uARFIDwhatueat. My name is Chris, and with these videos done, we'll hop back into our regularly scheduled programming next week. So again, thanks for taking this little detour with me. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, thanks for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again so much. Appreciate that. You take care. Bye-bye.